Wait, hold on. Is this on even? Oh, right. Hi. If you like the show, can you please leave a review wherever you listen to your podcast? Especially if you're listening on Apple, because it seems to really matter over there. Besides, you don't even have to write anything. Leaving 5 stars will do. If you don't like the show, however, well, that's your choice. But if you do like the show, it's a great way to help spread the word about the podcast and show your support. Believe me, I'm incredibly grateful. Alrighty, now on to the show. Hello, I'm Victoria from Biblio Lifestyle, and you're listening to the Reader's Couch podcast, the show that will help you bridge the gap between living a full and busy life to one where you're reading, learning new things, and having fun. Today on the couch, I'm so happy to welcome author Claire Douglas to talk about her latest book, The Girls Who Disappeared. In the novel, we meet Jenna Halliday, a journalist whose life is threatened when she investigates the truth about a mysterious car crash that happened 20 years earlier. Claire also talks about her writing and reading life, gives us book and bookstore recommendations, plus lots more. So let's get into the episode because I can't wait for you to listen to my chat with author Claire Douglas. An uplifting debut novel about siblings to add to your reading list is The Theory of Not Quite Everything by Kara Nodder. In The Theory of Not Quite Everything, we meet Art and Mimi, devoted siblings and housemates bound together by the tragic death of their parents. When Mimi decides that she wants to find love, she asks her brother Art for help. He agrees, but on one condition, that she finds her soulmate using a strict mathematical principle. Things seem promising, but it all changes when Mimi meets Frank. The Theory of Not Quite Everything by Kara Nodder is published by Harper Perennial, and it's a novel about a pair of unforgettable siblings and a love triangle of sorts. So be sure to add The Theory of Not Quite Everything by Kara Nodder to your reading list. It's a novel about true love in all its forms and how life follows a logic of its own. So get your hands on a copy of The Theory of Not Quite Everything by Kara Nodder. It's an uplifting and tender novel you really don't want to miss. Hi readers, welcome again to the Reader's Couch. I'm your host, Victoria Wood, and here on the couch with me is a journalist who's worked for both magazines and newspaper publications. But she's also a best-selling thriller novelist, and she's here on the couch with me to talk about her latest novel, The Girls Who Disappeared. Please welcome to the couch, Claire Douglas. Hi, Claire.
Hi.
Super excited to have you here. Really, really excited about The Girls Who Disappeared. I mean, I know you've written quite a few thrillers now, but how are you feeling?
I'm excited, but also quite nervous. It's always quite nerve-wracking when you have a book first out because you think you're not quite sure how readers are going to react to the book. So the first few reviews are quite scary because you just hope that people are going to like it.
Yep, absolutely. Sounds completely normal to me. But tell our listeners, I want them to hear it from you before I kind of dive into it. Tell us about your novel, The Girls Who Disappeared, and what can readers expect when they pick up your book?
So it's a thriller. And it starts with a group of girls. It goes back to 1998, and the group of girls are in a car, and they're travelling along a notoriously sort of haunted road in a sort of spooky a little spooky town in the UK, and they have an accident because Olivia, who's driving, she's quite young and she's only just passed a test, and it's raining really badly. So they have this crash, and Olivia's knocked unconscious in the crash. When she wakes up, her 3 friends have disappeared, and then 20 years later, they've never been found. And Jenna, a journalist, comes to the town to make a podcast about the disappearance because the disappearance has become a bit of a folklore. They've become a bit infamous for the disappearance. So
Right. Okay. So, I'm curious, what inspired you to write this story? I mean, I know there's kind of a rise in the interest in true crime, the true crime podcast, the journalists, like real journalists and wannabe journalists going in to investigate
Yeah.
and, get to the bottom of, these cold cases, old cases, small town cases, especially.
Yeah.
What was your inspiration? Where did the idea come from? Tell us about your process.
Well, I really love one of my favourite books is Sharp Objects by Gillian Flynn. I love that whole small town thing, and as I was a journalist myself, I thought it'd be quite good to have a character who's a journalist because I can bring my own experience to it. Although I've never actually done a podcast, so that was quite challenging to get around that. I had to do a bit of research. But when I first started writing the book, Jenna, my character, she was going to be a magazine journalist, and then my editor was like, maybe you should make her a podcaster because it's a bit more relevant, it's a bit more up to date. And I was like, oh, okay. But I was a bit worried because I thought, well, I don't know how to, I've never been a podcast journalist. But it was really good fun. I really enjoyed that part of the book. So I think the inspiration really came from, it was an idea that I had when I was thinking about what I used to do when I was younger and go out with my group of friends. And one of us used to always be the designated driver. And I just thought, what would happen if it had been me that had been the one to drive my friends home and for some reason had an accident or something and they never made it home, and the guilt that I would have of that happening. So that was where the idea stemmed from. And then I mixed in the small town and the sort of like it's a sort of small town, a little bit like Glastonbury, which is a sort of like a little mystical place in the UK. It's a little bit like that. So I quite like that, having that whole myths and legends folklore around the town and make it think, did the girls disappear because of like, external forces, or was it something supernatural? So there's a little bit of that as well.
Right. Absolutely. On that note, I was going to get to the character of Jenna because she is a journalist, but she's also an outsider. See, that's the whole dynamic with small towns. It's, everyone. And when someone else comes in, it's kind of like an intruder because they don't understand the dynamics within the town, and there are just a lot of forces at play. So tell us about Jenna as a character, who she is and what's going on in her life before she comes to Wiltshire.
So Jenna's having a bit of a hard time because her husband of 15 years has told her that he wants space from their marriage. They have a young son, so she's trying to juggle the young son, this separation from her husband. She's confused by the separation because she doesn't understand why her husband wants to separate. So then she thinks that she's going to come down to Wiltshire for a week, get away from her husband, give him a bit of space. But she's also worrying about her relationship at the same time as trying to sort of work on this case. But then when she's in this town, she meets a police officer called Dell, who she sort of clicks with and she gets on well with. So there's like a little bit of a will they, won't they between them as well.
Right. And then there's Olivia. So Olivia was the driver. Again, 4 girls. Let's just kind of go back to the premise. An accident occurred. 4 girls were in this vehicle. 3 went missing. Olivia, she's the only person who survived. She's the one person who walked away. And while the locals aren't happy about this journalist coming in and digging, Olivia isn't pleased about this as well. So tell us about Olivia, who she is, what life has been like prior to Jenna coming in and starting to dig things up as well.
Right. So Olivia, bless her, has had a bit of a difficult time because she was left with a severe leg injury from the crash. She's also got sort of PTSD, and she's in a relationship with this boy or man who she was always already going out with him before the crash, but it was a very new relationship, and he was someone who was very popular at school, and so she was always looked up to him, and so she's still with him, but you can sort of tell that he's not great for her and that she feels too scared to leave that relationship because he's been a sort of like a help to her all these years, but at the same time he's quite domineering and he's not really allowing her to sort of grow. So she's sort of dealing with him. She's dealing with the sort of guilt of her friends going missing, the sort of like the finger of suspicion from the town people, because they all sort of think that she sort of knows what really happened. She's saying she doesn't know what happened. So there's that whole sort of dilemma in the book of knowing whether to, is she an unreliable narrator or is she telling the truth and she actually doesn't know what happened to her friends.
So, in the novel, and I'm going to leave it so folks can read it and kind of, get into the webs of it a bit more. But Jenna, the journalist, starts receiving some menacing notes. It's clear she's not welcome. They want her to leave. Olivia doesn't want her digging into things one way or another. They want to get her out of town. But, another mystery pops up, which I won't get into, but I hope you guys will give it, a read and see for yourself. But I'm going to put you on the spot, though, Claire. Who is your favorite character in the novel? And it doesn't have to be Jenna, it doesn't have to be Olivia, it could be someone else that I haven't mentioned here today.
Yeah.
But who is your favorite character, or maybe who was your favorite to write and discover?
I really liked writing from Stacey's point of view. I wouldn't say she was my favourite character because she has a few ethical morals, let's say. But I really enjoyed writing her story. So there's a timeline where there's a group of friends in Thailand, and she's the character who's sort of telling that story. But I enjoyed writing her perspective on things. So I'd say she was the most fun to write. But I think if the person I probably liked the most was Jenna, because I felt she was quite nice. Olivia's quite troubled. She's got quite a lot of issues. So Jenna, I sort of like Jenna, but I liked writing Stace the best.
Okay, awesome. So getting into your writing process a bit, how long did it take for you to kind of write and pull together Girls Who Disappeared? And also, on that same note, did you do any research for this novel?
I always like to go to the places that I'm going to set the novel. So there was a town in the UK called Avebury, and it's got like a field of standing stones, which was quite creepy. So we went there. It's not that far from where I live, so we went there, and I sort of spent a bit of time there trying to get like the feel of the place. And the Devil's Corridor, which is the sort of spooky road where Olivia has her accident, that's based on a famous road around by me called Sally in the Woods, which is supposed to be haunted. Those two places I did like quite a lot of research into, went to, but apart from that, luckily, apart from the podcast element, a lot of it was just remembering how I was like, what I did as a journalist, and that was it really. So I didn't have to do that much research. But I think the whole process probably takes me sort of maybe 7 or 8 months to actually write the book. But then you go through edits, you send it to your editor, they send it back to you a couple of times with edits and everything like that. So probably takes about a year altogether. But the actual first draft for me, because I can't do multiple drafts, like I sort of probably do one draft, but I go over it quite a few times. So I'd say that takes about 7 or 8 months.
7 or 8 months. Okay. So you've previously authored numerous novels. I mean, we're here talking about The Girls Who Disappeared. I remember the couple at number 9 last year. There's also Do Not Disturb, Just Like the Other Girls, just to name a few. How is writing for you now different? Because you have quite a few books behind you now. How is it different to or similar to maybe the start of your writing journey?
I think you sort of know a bit more what to expect. I think right at the beginning, when I look back, I think I was really quite naive about the whole process. Um, and I sort of feel like I've built up a readership, and it's quite nice having that interaction with the readers, them messaging me on Instagram or Facebook to say, what they liked about my books. So I suppose I sort of feel like I write a little bit more for them now than I did at the beginning, knowing what they sort of like. But And I think I feel a bit more confident as well. But I think every time I start a new book, I'm always a bit like, oh gosh, have I forgotten how to do it? But but yeah, I think I do feel like, yeah, you sort of get it. And also I think I've also got to realize what my editor's going to say as well. So when I'm writing something, I'll have her voice in my ear saying, or is this needed, or it's a bit waffly or whatever. So she's in my head a bit more because I've been working with her for so many years.
Right.
So I think the process is quicker now as well because it's a bit more. I sort of know a bit more what I'm doing.
Right.
But yeah.
Okay, awesome. But looking back too, if you could tell your younger self anything, whether it's the start of, at the beginning of your journey as a novelist, maybe in the middle, to where we are now, or just at any point during your life, looking back, if you could tell your younger writing self anything, what would it be?
I think it'd be about having a bit more faith in myself, I think, because especially like when I was writing novels and sending them off to agents and getting, rejections, I wish I could just say, I did keep going, but there was times when I thought, oh gosh, should I just give up with this? Is this just never going to happen? I wish I could tell myself to just, stop stressing about it and just, keep going and believe in yourself. And I think also with the very first couple of books, I think you spend so much time stressing about the whole thing that I didn't really get to enjoy it. I think if I would go back now, I'd chill out a bit more and think, oh, enjoy this break, enjoy this. This is like your debut is like a special thing. Enjoy it instead of worrying about everything. Just enjoy it. So yeah, I think that's the
Yeah.
thing.
Yep, absolutely. My husband often reminds me, enjoy it now because you're never going to have that again, that
Yeah,
feeling, that first time, even the
yeah,
second or the third. So,
yeah.
uh, yeah, for sure. Love it, love it. On that token, though, are you working on any other projects now, Claire? Are there any other books coming out in our future? I know we're here in the States, so we
Yeah.
tend to get books a bit late.
Bit later. Yeah, I think. Yeah. So I've just finished the edits on a book called The Woman Who Lied, which is coming out in the UK in July, and I think it's normally 6 months later in the US. Although actually, it might be around the same time because I think you've sort of caught up now because The Girls Who Disappeared came out in January and it came out in the UK in September, so it's only 3 months behind. So actually, maybe it might be out August time in the US actually. And I that would have to say, I really enjoyed writing this one. I think it's been my favourite to write. It was fun to write. Yeah, so it's about a crime writer called Amelia, and she writes about this character called Miranda Moody, it's a detective, but she starts to realise that some of the things that are happening in the books that she's writing are happening in real life. So it's a
Mm.
bit like someone's sort of stalking her and reenacting what happens in her books to her in real life. And then she realizes that some of the things that are happening are from a manuscript that hasn't been published yet, and only her close circle have seen it. So she starts to realize it was somebody close to her. So that was really good fun to write. Really good fun.
Ooh, how exciting! Well, us readers love having books to look forward to, so it's really good to know that we have another of yours on the way. So that is fabulous. Okay, so Claire, I want to get into your reading life really quick. I mean, I know we're here to talk about The Girls Who Disappeared, but like I said, we're readers. We love getting new recommendations and having books to look forward to. So, what was the last book that you finished reading that you'd now recommend?
Oh, so can I say two?
Yes, of
Three?
course.
Can I say three? I should let's say three.
Go on and share as many books as you'd
Okay.
like.
So the first one I've just finished recently was called None of This Is True by Lisa Jewell. I was really lucky to read an arc of it. So it hasn't been published yet. I think it comes out in the summer. It is amazing. It's brilliant. It's actually about a podcast as well.
Mhm.
Really, really good. I also read Gilly Macmillan. She wrote The Long Weekend and What She Knew. She's got a new one coming out called The Fall. Actually, no, I think it's called The Fall in the UK, and actually in America it's going to be called The Manor House. That's amazing as well. Brilliant, like a really good psychological thriller. And Louise Candlish, she's written a book called The Only Suspect, and that is brilliant too. I love that. That's got like a 90s, again, they're all thrillers, but that's got like a 90s backstory, which is amazing. It's got a really good sort of almost Hitchcock in the way that it's written. It's like a really clever,
Oh.
twisty book. Very good. Those three, they're really standout books, all three of them, I think.
Oh, okay, awesome. Well, I'll definitely let readers know, hey, this is an episode where we're getting some great thriller recommendations too. So really, really exciting there. But looking back, Claire, what would you say was your favorite childhood book that you could remember? That one book that just captivated you and you probably kept reading it over and over again?
One of my favourites, I still love it, is Tom's Midnight Garden. I don't know if you've ever read it, by Philippa Pierce, and it's about a boy who goes to stay with his aunt and uncle in a like an apartment, and then at night time when he opens the door, he hears the clock chime 13, and he's like, "This is really strange." He goes
Mhm.
downstairs into like the lobby, and he opens the door, and it goes back in time to Victorian times. It's in the garden, like this beautiful garden. He makes friends with the people of the house. Oh, I just love it. Honestly, I love it. I love any sort of time travel thing, any sort of anything that goes back to the Victorian times. I just absolutely love that book when I was growing up. And I read it recently again, and I just thought it's still amazing.
See, now you're making me want to revisit it because I read it and loved it too.
Oh, did
So
you? It's so brilliant, isn't it? Love it.
such a wonderful book. And I
Yeah.
agree. I think my love for time travel
Yes.
definitely started there.
Yeah, definitely.
Absolutely. What books are you looking forward to reading though in the year ahead?
Yeah. So I've got quite a few that I've got on my I really want to read. There's a Kate Atkinson. I don't know if you've ever read any Kate Atkinson books.
Yes, of course.
Yes, there's one I want to read, which I've bought. I bought it in hardback. I think it's called something about gaiety. So it's set in the 20s.
Shrines of Gaiety.
Yes, have you read it?
Loved it.
Oh, have
Loved
you?
it.
I really want to read that. Like it's been sitting there, and I keep thinking I really want to read it, but I get all these proofs to read, so I keep
Mhm.
feeling guilty about reading the proofs. But I really want to read that. So you recommend it? Do you? Is it?
Highly, highly, highly recommend it.
Okay.
For me, I think the biggest, my elevator pitch for that one is the fact that it wasn't just the men in those times who had a stake in, kind of the gritty underworld of London. It was the women too.
Wow.
And I love the character. I think her name was Nella or Neela. I don't remember, but
Yeah.
love the book. She was just a character that stayed with me. And so, yeah, highly, highly, highly
Oh,
recommend.
I can't wait to read that. Oh, I'm so glad you liked it. I can't wait.
Love. Kate's a great writer. I
Oh, she is,
truly.
isn't she? I loved Life After Life. Again, another type of time travel-y thing.
Mhm. Exactly, exactly. But no, Shrines of Gaiety, highly, highly recommend. What would you say? Okay, so when you're reading, what's your ideal reading setting?
Oh, actually, I love reading in my kitchen with my cats next to me with a cup of tea, and it's raining outside. That would be like my perfect, like cozy, sitting in reading with a cup of tea and my cats, and it raining. That'd be or on holiday on a beach.
Oh,
So
of course, for sure.
either
Sure.
of those two scenarios.
Love it. And what advice would you give someone who wants to incorporate more reading in their life? So they're already reading, but they want to read more, or someone who is just getting back in the habit? Like, what tips have worked for you?
I think finding a really good book, which is really like page turnery. I think if you find a book that you just love and you just want to read it, like I know it's hard because you can't tell always from the cover or from the synopsis if it's going to be one of those books. But you know when you've got a book you just can't put it down and you just want to read it, you just want to stay in and read it all the time. But my friend also gave me some good advice because I was saying to her, I said, "Oh, I feel guilty if I sit and read. Like I feel like I should be working." And she said that she does a lot of reading of like well, she's like taking the dog for a walk. She like listens to audiobooks. And
Hmm.
I thought that's a really good idea because you listen to an audiobook, but you sort of feel like you're still doing something, so you don't feel like you're being lazy. You're I've never actually listened to an audiobook, but I thought I might actually try that.
Claire, really?
Yeah, I know. Can you believe it? I've listened to snippets of them, like with mine, but
Hmm.
I've never actually listened to a whole audiobook. I know. I really feel like I need to do that this year. It's my New Year's resolution. My New Year's resolution is to listen to an audiobook.
Yes, we need to. I mean, the audiobook productions nowadays, they're so good. I
Yeah.
mean, I remember books on tape. So when I say to folks, the narrators today, they're just absolutely amazing. Some books, they even gather a whole cast, you have two, three, four people giving different points of view. It's beautiful. So here's my thing.
Yeah.
One thing we all have to do, because some of us have pets, some don't, when you're cleaning, if
Yes.
you are, doing the dishes,
Yes.
you're hoovering, you're something, that would be the perfect time. You're
Yeah.
commuting, I think. See, if I'm driving, because I'm in Florida, so I have to drive everywhere, I'll listen to it because, sometimes going somewhere, for me anyway,
Yeah.
takes 40 minutes. So it's like I'm in the car instead of, maybe listening to the radio or something.
Right.
I listen to an audiobook. And, I'm having to clean the house.
Yeah.
I listen to an audiobook when I'm doing that. I don't have pets right now. So, um,
Right.
you know, I
Okay.
don't have a dog to walk anymore. But yeah, I think you should.
Oh, I'm going to. I'm definitely going to because that's such a good idea, especially like you said when you're cleaning. It's so boring anyway. To actually be able
Exactly.
to, I might be able to listen to. Maybe I should listen to the Cat Atkinson one instead, so that I'll have time to listen to it.
Yeah, and I mean, especially after a proper dinner for me, it's like, okay, now
Yeah.
we're cleaning up, we're loading up the dishwasher,
Yeah.
you know, you're putting food away, whatever, and it's just like monotony, you know, just
Yeah. Yeah.
podcasters, let's hold Claire accountable. She's going to listen to an audiobook in 2023.
Definitely.
She's going to listen to an audiobook in 23. Okay, so let's talk about bookstores because on this podcast, we love all things books, authors, and we love our booksellers. So we love a good indie bookstore. So share with our listeners a favorite of yours. It could be local or something you found on your travels, or both. I mean, so just share with us some of your favorites.
So there's a few really lovely ones in Bath. Toppings in Bath, which is lovely, and they've always been very supportive. And another one called Mr. B's.
Mm-hmm.
Those two are like really lovely bookshops. They're really interested in books. They'll like talk to you about books if you're not quite sure what you want to pick up. They're really nice.
Okay, Claire, let's get back to the girls who disappeared. I mean, you've done your job, you've written the book. I know it can be scary getting all the opinions from all the readers sometimes. But in an ideal world, because again, you've done your job, but in an ideal world, when the reader turns the last page on this book, what
Yeah.
are you hoping for?
I would love it if they were like, oh my goodness, everything that I thought has been turned on its head. And to maybe go back to the beginning again and think, oh gosh, now that I know the end, read it slightly differently. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. And to feel like satisfied that it's a good ending. And endings are quite hard, aren't they? Like I think sometimes, I've had some books where, like I think Lasting Alive had a very mixed reaction to the end because I left it quite open.
Hmm.
And I think that was, some people loved that and some people didn't. So
Yeah.
trying to please everyone is quite difficult but yeah, my sort of memorable endings in books what I've read have always been like that one line that changes everything, like changes how you like sort of almost like that last twist, at their very last page. Yeah. And you're like, wow, that's what I want my readers to think when they finish one of my books, like, wow, that's amazing.
Well, I thought wow. I thought it was twisty. I love anything gothic, so the gothic vibe,
Oh,
the supernatural, is it there or not elements, just very atmospheric. So
thank
for me, I love the red herrings, so I love going in one direction and coming back round. So it was quite a treat. It was really quite a treat. Readers, I hope you'll give this one a try. And Claire, thank you so much for speaking with me. It's been a
you.
pleasure.
Thank you for having me on. It's been lovely to talk to you.
Thank you so much for listening to the Reader's Couch podcast. Please subscribe to the show, share it with a friend, and take a few seconds to leave a rating and review. Until next time, stay lounging, stay reading, and whenever you're in doubt, go straight to your local bookstore or library. Thanks again for listening, and happy reading.